Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free at AAA.com/Commanders. Hey, babies, hey, babies, hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday, everybody. First, as Callow pointed out before we started taping this, because I forgot this part, first Monday night home game of the DQ, Jaden, Adam Peters era. So I forgot. We only had one last year. It was my favorite game of last year, the Cincinnati game. Sorry, Bears fans. The Hail Mary does not rank number one for me. It might be the worst thing that's ever happened to you guys last year, but is not number one for me. It was very memorable, and I'm glad it happened, and I had to relive a lot of it. But this is cool. We get the rematch under the lights, Joe, Buck, and Troy. It's going to be great. It's going to be really fun tonight.
Yeah, the only reason I kind of made that conclusion was because the team is making a large deal out of this game. The branding of this whole Conquer the Night thing, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, is giving it a different feel. And I know this is actually kind of an NFL thing now. I think these Monday night games, teams are trying to make them their own little, event, even locally. But even I was kind of like, this is different for this team. And I kind of clicked for me. I said, well, it is the first time Jaden has a home Monday night game. And as you said, with Adam Peters and Dan Quinn as well, which it's like hard to believe that didn't happen last year, but it's not like, the schedule's the schedule. They didn't have one. And so here we are, the first time that they'll be, under this kind of new like home field advantage too on this Monday night game as well.
It's interesting. Like so many people had asked me, I've done a lot of interviews this week about the game, obviously mainly about the game, but invariably it was brought up about having gotten to call a Hail Mary, at some point last year and how cool that was. And it was a really cool experience. And I actually found myself, it was really strange, like not falling in line with the team, but similarly just kind of feeling like that was last year. I am ready for something new, and I'm not trying to like get in line with, because that's the position they've taken the entire week about the whole thing. But like, I actually felt like maybe it's because we were on the right side of it. That's probably why more than anything, but it was really interesting this past week. So, as you know, sometimes I talk about on here what I talk to Coach Dan Quinn about when I get a chance to speak with him before the games. And most of the time I keep most of that stuff for the broadcast. And a lot of it I don't actually use. It's just context for me because he gives me a little bit of access and I'm very appreciative of it. And I don't want to burn that bridge, obviously. But I will share this one thing that happened with it because I've gotten a lot of, I wouldn't say crap, but like I've gotten a lot of like pointing back at me with the Hail Mary stuff too, where while I was waiting for Coach, there were two people that came out of the building, like waiting, and they like pointed at me and they're like, hey, it's the week of the game that got you famous. So I got that one. And then so they were like making fun of me as if like, I bet you want to relive it. But I was like, actually, I'm on board with what you guys are talking about. It was the first time like we went viral last year because of that play. And then I was talking to Dan Quinn, and I didn't really bring up a lot of it because he had addressed it numerous times during the week. And I kind of couched it as like, look, like there's a lot of attention here. So what can you just say about narratives more than anything? Forget the Hail Mary part of it just for a second. That there's big narratives, and you guys, like every team, are trying to keep outside pressure kind of out of like pressurizing any one particular game. And I'll save what he said about that for the broadcast because he was talking a lot about how they think about not insulating, but just being like, keep your eyes on the prize. Like what happened a year ago is a really cool chapter and we'll never forget it. But and as Jaden put it, which I thought was best, has nothing to do with what's going to happen tonight. And he's right about that. It really doesn't have anything to do with what's going to happen tonight. But then by the end of it, he did say something to me where it was like, I don't remember exactly what it was, something about you calling that, like as if acknowledging, like, that like this is probably a big moment for you. How are you kind of feeling about it? And I go, I would really appreciate it if you guys don't give me a heart attack this year, is what I said to him. So, and he was like, we're going to try our best. So we're all like, it was actually one of the lighter acknowledging that there's this thing that hangs over this. The team really tried, this past week to try to just be like, that was really cool. That was last year. This is this year. This is a big game. No one is suggesting it's not. It is. And that has really actually outside of your pregame show has nothing to do with what's going to happen but it was fun to relive it. And it was cool. I thought, like, my mindset has been, I'm not going to focus on that unless we end up in some weird situation where it comes up again on the field.
No, I think Dan Quinn said it perfectly last week where he was saying, well, I'm not going to talk to him about it unless we're literally in the same exact scenario that we are, in that game. To your point too, though, like, I'm glad you're at least getting a little bit more acknowledgement this week because you and I have had these discussions behind the scenes. Like, I know, we don't have a deal with them this year, but like we launched the deal with the Spirit last year, and you and I have had discussions about how important local radio is. And when you have a play like that, that is exactly what we want, is the viral moment of you losing your mind, on a play that, encapsulates how we were all feeling at the time. I don't even know if I've ever even said where I was at with that. I was on the way to a after party for the Marine Corps Marathon, and I had been trying to time out leaving. But if you remember, that game was going so long, like it was 7:50, almost 8 o'clock when the Hail Mary happened. I had it pulled up on my phone, but I had 10 people texting me, and I don't see what the messages are because of the way my privacy settings are. I knew something big had happened. I then watched it happen, and then, of course, heard your call. So I think it's one of those moments, too. Everybody remembers where they are. Obviously, the coaches and you have a different perspective, but you remember exactly what you were doing when you saw the Hail Mary as well. And that's why this is also kind of transcending this week. To Jaden's point, it means nothing. But guess what? Every time these two teams play each other now, this replay is going to be played.
Yes.
And so I do understand the acknowledgement this week. And I know that the players don't want to talk about it, but it was historic. You have to at least acknowledge it heading into tonight.
I mean, I obviously, like, I toggle in two different worlds here where we're doing a show and we're talking about the team. And I also have an acute understanding of how the media works, and then doing the games, where it is it's a totally different thing. I'm telling their story. Their story is last year, while was awesome and we'll never forget it, is not part of tonight. And I need to send that message. And I actually agree with it, too, because I'm getting ready for this game in the same way that I got ready for any game, whether it was last year Ron 4-13 or first year Dan Quinn 12-5. All the games are the same to me, but they all have context to them. And last year, I'm like, look, this thing has everything. It's got not only two teams that are vying for potentially the playoffs, two up-and-coming franchises. Maybe Washington was a little ahead of that, a year ago. And considering what's been going on the last few days, doors been kicked wide open for them to kind of build on what they did a year ago. So this is a big, it's a big deal for that from that perspective too, that like this year is different. The Eagles are different. The Cowboys are different. Like all of a sudden we're kind of in a very different spot with where this is. But I know how the media works. And at the same time, it's like, you could try to avoid that this is going to be a big deal, but it's not. It is going to be a big deal. There's no way to get away from it. It's going to be. ESPN is going to do, because they're doing Monday Night Football, 58 stories on it for their pregame show. It's going to get brought up. It's going to get shown before the broadcast, could be shown after the broadcast. Anybody who's writing any kind of preview about this is going to do a preview about that. They're going to try to take some angle where they talk to the participants who are still on the teams. Jaden, Caleb, Tyreek Stevenson, Noah Brown, they all still play on these teams. So they're going to talk about it. And I believe that this has the budding feeling of, if both teams go arrows up, this is what going to be the rivalry of the NFC in the next few years, because of who the quarterbacks are, because of how they're intersecting at the exact same times, because of the age of the franchises. Like all of that is all very much in play. And there's no way to avoid, whether you want to or not. You can put your head in the sand all you want. That was an amazing chapter 1. Here comes chapter 2. And to your point, they're never not going to show that when these guys play each other. It's going to stick to this for as long as these two quarterbacks are playing one another, for sure. And so here we are. And like, I'm trying to embrace that. And at the same time, I don't need to get caught up in the past either. I need to be in the moment. So I understand where they're coming from. Like I got ready for this game like any other game. And I wrote down my Hail Mary notes that'll come up in the pregame show.
I think the other side of this too is context matters. You and I are, a part of a contingency that talks about them every day. Well, One thing that I will always remember about the Hail Mary was, remember as they went on that losing streak, it kind of got to be one of those moments where it was, Well, if they didn't have a Hail Mary, they would have lost 5 in a row or whatever the number was at that point. I think it would have been 4 in a row. I think they lost 3 before they ended up, beating, I think they beat the Titans at the time. The schedule's blurring for me. But if you remember, like, it became one of those last second wins where it was like, oh, if they hadn't thrown that, their season might have gotten a little bit derailed. So that's the other side here too, that I always think that matters, is that game also had its own local storylines happening within it. It did lead up to that moment, but it also, in context, kind of saved them from having a longer losing streak. And remember, the clip came out over, the summer where Jaden acknowledged once again, yeah, I made that throw with a broken rib. So, like, that was another part of it. They were not the team they were supposed to be because he was marginalized, and the Bears probably didn't play up to how they were. We ended up breaking their season. It ends up being, a part of the chapter of the storybook season for us too. The microcosm of the actual game also matters to me as well a little bit.
Yeah. One little historical note as we kind of move into tonight, because I want to talk about tonight, what I think is going to happen tonight. Which I love all the historical notes. This series dates back to 1932. First time they ever played each other. It was the Boston Braves at the time against the Chicago Bears. And I think fittingly, because we're talking about a Hail Mary and a crazy finish, ended in a tie. 7-7 was the first ever game between these two. And then there's this other footnote to 1932. I couldn't believe this, since 1932, the Washington franchise has never alternated wins and losses through the first 6 games of any season whatsoever, which means if that were to hold, they're winning tonight because they've alternated wins and losses through the first 5 games of the season. They have never gone 3-3 alternating wins and losses since 1932. And then the other weird thing, because you would think a bye is supposed to help people, the Bears are 1-10 in their last 11 after a bye, including last year. The Hail Mary game came at a similar time of year, just a couple weeks later than where we are now, and they were off a bye when they lost that game. So there's a couple of historical and recent footnotes that would scream Washington's a winner tonight.
I would like to say that it's not like Ben Johnson, was doing any of that work off the bye either. So I don't know how much stock I put into that, but I'm with you. That's a weird one. I remember hearing that during the week somewhere. It might have been Courtney Cronin that spit that one out on ESPN radio at some point that I heard her say it. But yes, there's some weird stats with this one. I need to send this one to you because I'm going to butcher it. Somebody tweeted this yesterday, and I need to find it for you because you might use this on the pregame. Somebody pointed out to like a year. It's got to be sometime in the 80s at this point. There's been like 22 meetings between these two teams. Yeah. They've never started the same consecutive quarterbacks together until this year and Caleb Williams last year.
Believe it. This is not, in one way that they've truly intersected is both of them have been in quarterback wasteland forever until Jaden, and now hopefully for them, Caleb showed up. And for a short period of time, Jay Cutler was a very good quarterback for the Bears. And for which should have been a longer period of time, Brad Johnson was, Kirk Cousins was, should have been in both cases. But you're right, both of them in general have been in total quarterback purgatory since for the Commanders, since Sonny, and for the Bears, Sid Luckman. It's been forever for them.
And so that's the funny part. The two that you mentioned, it's like, Jay Cutler starts 2 in a row, but of course the then Redskins have 2 different ones. Right. And then same thing with Kirk. It's like Kirk has 2 in a row with the Redskins, and then the Bears have 2 different ones. So this is the first time, I think I think it's 22 meetings. I'll find it for you, that they're finally starting consecutive, have consecutive matchups here too. And look what happened. They had a massive play happen the first time they played against each other. And now look at the hype train kind of heading into this one. So this is the other side. It looks like both teams are bucking their trends a little bit, that they actually get a consecutive matchup. And it makes it more juicy that it's a first and second overall pick, in the same draft.
There is one other thing that's happened, in recent years. Washington playing in night games, there's a perception they always lose. And actually that hasn't been the case in recent years. A couple of people brought that up to me. They're like, oh, we always do poorly on Monday night. And I go, actually, they've won their last 4. I was like, you may not remember that, but they have. And if they do win tonight, it will be their longest win streak on Monday Night Football since the mid-70s. So it's been a long time, but this obviously crosses over into multiple different regimes, but they've actually been good on Monday night in various games over the last couple of years.
The last home Monday night game was in 2021 when they played the Seahawks. And remember, that was kind of the last run with Russ, where Russ They got him down there, scored, and then I forget who made the interception in the 2-point conversion, but they beat Russ on Monday Night Football to kind of end them a little bit. So, yeah, it's funny. Like, Ron was actually okay at sometimes getting the troops rallied for these primetime games. That's actually one of the funnier parts. Like, beat the Seahawks, beat the Eagles, in that primetime matchup up in Philly. So, yeah, like, I'm with you. People think it's a perception thing with these primetime games. I've noticed it. They're actually fine on these now. They are not as terrible as they used to be at all whatsoever.
No, they've been winning them, especially on Monday night in recent years. So we'll see what happens tonight. All right, let me get into the game a little bit here. One, the weather is going to play a role. We'll see how much it rains. It's expected to rain late afternoon and then potentially through at least the first couple of hours. I saw the percentages down around 25-30%, so it's possible it will miss this. It could be sloppy. And frankly, considering the Bears have the 31st ranked run defense and Washington has the number 1 rush offense, the sloppy weather to me reads like an advantage for the Commanders tonight. Look, anything could happen. Sometimes this causes a lot of turnovers, but it just feeds more into what I think is going to happen this evening. So I think the rain is a good thing for Washington if it were to happen. I think it slows the Bears down, especially on the outside with their skill position guys. And either way, whether we have really good conditions or really bad conditions, where you want to run against the Bears is literally in the middle of the line. Their center of the line, and Grady Jarrett, is out again tonight with a knee injury, so it's one of the prominent injuries for them. They are getting a lot of guys back. TJ Edwards has barely played this year. Kyler Gordon has not played this year. They're both playing tonight. There are some changes on the offensive side, which I'll talk about in a minute for them. We're once again catching a team that's got offensive line issues, so we're going to have to see how that plays out tonight. But for me, and for the way that Washington is executing, running the ball, and I thought was by far from their interior linemen, Tyler Biadasz specifically and Chris Paul last week, if there's a carryover of their play, considering what I've seen so far from the Bears, especially in the middle of the field, in the middle of the line, they should gash them there. And so I don't think it's a secret. I think they know what we're going to do, and I don't know if they can stop it. We're going to run the ball, and not only just run it, we're going to run it right down their throat, middle of the line, and let's see if the Bears can actually stop it, because if they can't, Washington's going to run away with this.
Well, and it's not only having to do, I think, with their rush defense going into tonight, it's that the coming out party for Bill happened last game, right, against the Chargers, where it wasn't just the offensive line, opening holes for him. It was, once again, another week of him building up the vision, popping out of piles, cutting back. His cutbacks are great, like really, really good. Yes. I think that's the other side of this, too, is not only is their rush defense bad, the running back situation in Washington has finally, I wouldn't say settled, but we thought it was going to be by committee, but Bill has really taken it by the horns at this point to be the best running back in that backfield. And the hype train behind him is going to be, heading right into tonight as well. You also have to factor in this Washington offense, once again, lacking weapons because Terry's out, Noah's out again. Rely on your most reliable players.
Yes.
That's going to be Debo. And at this point, it's going to be Bill. And so naturally, you're going to have to go to him anyways. And so I'm with you. I think the game plan has been really apparent since last Monday. Essentially, they're going to run the ball. And if they do run the ball, this will be a really successful game for them, I think.
The secret's out, too. There's no going back to Bill doesn't get the ball a lot. I mean, we can keep calling it committee, but there's just no – I mean, he is their most explosive running back. Where the difference could be and where they want to see growth is in pass protection. So third down – and so, the change for him to become a quote-unquote full-time running back and keep someone like McNichols off the field is he's going to have to get better in pass protection. They're going to have to trust him a little bit more. Otherwise, there's no reason to take McNichols off of the field. So because he's done very well in third down, specifically in protection. And at times, when asked to make a play or two, he had the crazy touchdown run. He had a huge third down conversion a week ago on what was a screen. He actually got fined. Did you know that he got fined for that? Because he lowered his head. He got fined for that. What do you want him to do? He's trying to get a first down. What do you want him to do? Anyway, there's that. I will say this also, though, for the big runs and to your point about the cutbacks, what I am very impressed with Chicago, and I think this is why they've been in most of the games they've been in, won a couple of them, especially the last two when they could have lost. They have a very aggressive back end. It is funny that Tyreek Stevenson's name is going to be a big deal tonight because of what happened a year ago and all the things that are with him. He's having an outstanding start to the season. He's been someone, it's hard to test him. He's around the ball. They've been ball hawking. Kevin Byard, him specifically, have caused a lot of turnovers. Tremaine Edmonds, the former Hokie, that caused a lot of turnovers. So to your point about like him bouncing and all this stuff, I expect us to be able to get a lot of yardage in the middle of the line, but I'd like everybody just to be happy with if we get 5, 6, 7 yards a run, that's actually really, really, really good. It'll look a lot more standard than what we've seen, but that's what I would expect tonight. Their back end has been very aggressive, good tackling. They're ball hawking it. Him bouncing a few of these, I actually don't envision that happening tonight, but I do think we're going to gain a lot of yards, just kind of the old traditional right up the middle. And then, you get Jaden in these 2nd and 3s, 2nd and 4s, then the world is his oyster. And this is where our offense can explode.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think where this game is won with the run game, mainly because they're going to have to start worrying about Bill if they start ripping off these runs. And we're going to get back to that early part of last season where that's where Jaden was just feasting on defenses, right? Where they had to start worrying about the run game, and then he'll hit you, and it doesn't matter who his receivers are at this point. Shout out Olamide Zaccheaus making his return tonight as well. But that's where Jaden made all of these teams pay so much early on last season. You then have to sell out to stop one or the other. And God, does he make you pay? Because at the same time, too, if you start worrying about the pass and dropping dudes back there, he's going to gash you on the ground as well. So I like this matchup a lot, at least with the offense against their defense. Yes. And the only thing, like I said, I'm worried about is this wide receiver core is very beat up. So they're going to tee off on Debo. Does Luke McCaffrey have another big play? Does Jalen Lane have a big play in them? They're going to need something from those guys once again. They've done it, but they're going to need it to continue for the passing game to work as well.
So I know a lot of people have made a big deal of the big plays. I'm not trying to downplay them. The big plays that Washington's given up. It is a big deal, but I'll reiterate what I said going into the Chargers game, which is why I really liked our matchup with them a week ago and why I kind of like this one as well. The players that are getting the big gash plays against us are pass-catching running backs and really athletic tight ends. Now, they are getting Colston Loveland back, who was first-round pick. It doesn't have really big numbers, which I'll get to in a moment. And DeAndre Swift, who actually had a really good game against Washington a year ago, but as basically a traditional running back, neither one of them, at least at this point, have shown the propensity to pull off the big plays in the passing game. Secondarily, we are asking the big question about the Bears. Are they going to run what is something like an on-time offense? And I think like the numbers that you see about them, at least offensively, would ask kind of this big question. This is also why I think there's a propensity with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and Luther Burden. They have a lot of explosive weapons that they can make big plays down the field. But one, Washington's defenders haven't given up a ton of those, not to receivers. It hasn't happened a lot to receivers. And two, the Bears haven't showed a propensity to hit a ton of them, with the exception really of that Dallas game. So they haven't, but they've had 2 weeks. And so this is the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about coming in. They've had 2 weeks to, I think, what I would describe as figure out who they are offensively. DJ Moore is averaging a career low yards per game, and mainly because they're running him more. They're using him a little bit like Debo. Most of the passes they throw to him are underneath or screens. They're not trying him down the field. So his numbers way off. Loveland's missed time. Cole Kmet's come in. He's not being utilized downfield much. His numbers are off. Luther Burden had a flea flicker touchdown. Outside of that, has 30 yards total in receiving outside of the flea flicker touchdown that he got. Odunze is the one having the gangbusters year so far for them. This reads to me, though, and they're averaging like the last couple of games under 80 yards a game rushing. Like that's nothing, right? That's nothing. So I don't think they know who they are yet. And I think that they'll get there. There's no even disbursement of the ball. So to me, it reads like this is totally a work in progress for them. It doesn't mean that after 2 weeks, they don't have some changes and definitively some change ups for us. So that concerns me here. I respect Ben Johnson and what he does. I see Caleb as light years ahead of where he was a year ago. I think they're getting better. I think they are far, far, far from a finished product. But with 2 weeks to tinker with it, I think you're going to see some change-ups here. And Washington's got to be very, very careful because their skill position players can burn you bad, which is partially why I do want it to rain tonight.
Yeah, this is what worries me the most in this game is because we've also seen where these wide receivers on other teams, when you can't sack the quarterback, on time, so to speak, the quarterbacks that can move around a little bit have nailed this defense. I go to the Falcons game where it wasn't just on 3rd and long, it was 2nd and longs that they were giving up these large pass plays when quarterbacks could move. We've talked about it heading into, the season here, where week 1 was Russ. They swallowed him up really quick. He wasn't moving. He didn't want to make the mistake. Same thing with Geno. Didn't want to, make the mistake, kind of went down, didn't really move around. Then we point to Jordan Love and Michael Penix, who could move a little bit and then made some time and killed them on 2nd and 3rd and longs, right? And then you go last week where Herbert, they just started teeing off and he had both of his tackles out. So I do kind of make that one a little bit different because Herbert did kill him with the legs a little bit. I think this is one where rubber meets the road again on a matchup here is if you can sack him on time and make sure that you contain him a little bit, I think you can win this. But I am worried about those 2nd and 3rd and longs because, to your point, Ben Johnson now has had 2 weeks to kind of scheme things up. I trust Ben Johnson can scheme up something. That's why I'm not going to be surprised if he comes out here and they score on their scripted 1st or 2nd drive or whatever, because I just kind of have that expectation with 2 weeks ready to go. He's a smart offensive mind. They just need to stop it, from the 1st quarter on like they did last time.
The Bears have scored more points in the 1st quarter this year than they did all of last year. Right. So that ought to tell you how they're scripting out at least starting games. Caleb's improv, and this is part of the issue with him. He's got great, he's very elusive. He's also hard to bring down. He's like, I know he's not tall, but he's a bigger guy. He's actually hard to bring down. What isn't happening with it yet is he's not landing the Mahomesy big plays out of it. It's cool to watch. It's very magical, but he's not landing the big plays. Hopefully that continues tonight. And not surprisingly, he feels way more at home in 2-minute type offenses. And I'll be interested to see if Ben adjusts a little bit to that and becomes more like Cliff and goes, okay, we're just going to go no huddle all the time because you seem most comfortable. But I think that's going to become a trust issue. Cliff trusts Jaden to play within the context of the plays and not go rogue and improvise constantly. I don't know that Caleb's earned that yet. So I could see, like I said, they're a work in progress. At some point, I could see that's where that goes with them, but I don't know that he's earned the trust to make the plays that need to be played if they just let him kind of go rogue. And on the trick play part of this, I assume that something's happening. Ben isn't happy unless he's like drawing up something to do something here. And I will say this, I'll tell you the one thing that Dan Quinn told me I thought was really interesting about the game from the other day, because I asked him about trick plays and I said, I assume you're getting ready for him. And he goes, we always are, but in this case, you're not wrong. We have to really think about this. And they've had 2 weeks. And he said he did this, and I was going to save this for the broadcast, but I'll just say it here. He told me, so the other day in practice, because of this, we told the offense, no rules, do whatever you want for a period of time, but we did not tell the defensive coaches or defensive players we were going to do that just to see how they would react to it. And so they had a period of practice where they said, offense, run whatever you want. We're not going to warn the defense at all what we're going to do. We want to see how they react to it. So they've mindfully prepared for it's probably happening tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things too where you and I have our kind of our feel on head coaches. Ben Johnson has to let everyone know he's the smartest one in the room. So of course there's going to be some kind of trick play here. That's what I was getting at here is Ben Johnson needs to show everyone why he's a head coach and he's come up with something crazy. Granted, Detroit actually still does some of this trickery that he did there as well. So it's kind of carrying over here, but I'm with you. I fully expect them to at some point have a flea flicker or something where they, pitch it around a little bit, whatever. Maybe we get a hook and ladder or something like that. 100%. Ben Johnson cannot go a game without reminding everyone that he's the offensive genius in the NFL of the moment. Yeah. So I'm with you, but with that 100%.
All right, we'll revisit the Bears and Commanders in a little bit. Let's go through the rest of Week 6 next. Brad Weiss Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, like 24/7 roadside assistance, plus 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop, chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive MVP events, and unforgettable experiences. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP upgrade for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to join the squad and put your fandom in drive. All right, welcome back. Let's go through the rest of week 6. Let's start with the last game from last night. The Lions lose and then get into a fight with the Chiefs afterwards. Brian Branch just punched Juju Smith-Schuster when it looked like he was trying to shake his hand. He refused to shake Mahomes' hand. The Chiefs completely outplayed the Lions and deserved to actually win, and it was by far their best performance of the season. It's the second time now the Lions have been thoroughly beaten. In the other 4, they've just kind of outclassed and outscored, and in some cases boat raced people. So this was a clash of the Titans, and if you were wondering, are the Chiefs okay? They very much are, and if this is an indictment of the Lions, I'm not sure I'm going to go that far yet. It's tough to play in Arrowhead. I'm going to say nothing about it because in 2 weeks, we have to go there and play in a night game too.
Yeah, and not to mention, too, it was a 10-point game with, 7-8 minutes left? So That's not, outlandish to be going to Arrowhead and be down by that much. I will say this about Branch. Before he threw fisticuffs, before he did that, I actually liked him not reacting with Mahomes. I've talked to you about this for years now, that I think Mahomes, I don't want to say dirty. Dirty's not the right player, but he does that thing where he goes running out to the sidelines and then jukes a guy and takes a couple yards, and guys have to throw their hands up because they're like, I'm going to get fined if I hit him, right? I like this, that Branch is probably like, F you, man. I don't want to dap you up while the clock's going down to 0 here. I kind of like the attitude thrown to the Chiefs here because I've talked about this for a while. I think they game the rules up a little bit to themselves. I'm not Mr. Conspiracy. The refs are in it for them over here, but I've said this. Mahomes needs to watch himself a little bit, and I think this was a little bit of this boiling over last night. Also, It was 2 really good teams. This just happens in big games as well, so I'm not putting too much into it.
He's going to get a massive fine. He's going to get lucky if he doesn't get suspended, frankly, for doing that. And Dan Campbell even said that's not what we're about, which I appreciated that, he's like, I'll fight you in a garbage can, but not like that. And I appreciated at least the honor among men who want to fight in garbage cans. All right. So that's the heavyweights. Let me quickly go through the featherweights. One, the Jets had minus 10 yards passing, and Aaron Glenn scolded a reporter for asking whether they would change quarterbacks, which is not a ridiculous question to ask, considering what's going on. Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. They almost won anyway. Sacked 9 times. It was pathetic. I think the most pathetic thing I saw was the end of the first half, where for some reason they didn't really even try to score. And their excuse for that was we didn't want Denver to get the ball back before the end of the first half, which prohibited them from trying to score. Aaron Glenn is a candidate to be fired in the middle of his first season, let alone after his first season. And if things don't dramatically change, and I don't believe they will, he is a one and done. He will not survive this.
No, I've said this to you. When you're having a players only meeting at the beginning of the year, and then you have the coach yelling at you guys loud enough that coaches can hear you, and we weren't a month into the season, you know how this works, man. That's never, ever, ever, ever good. And the fact that, they're asking about a quarterback change is very valid. I don't know why you'd go off on the reporter about that. Not to mention, it's Justin Fields. It's not a first-round pick. It's not a big free agent signing. It's a guy that's on his 3rd team in 3 years. I don't know why you wouldn't be considering it at this point. So really just odd by him. He's losing the media battle, which you can't do up there as well. And not just losing, but drowning, essentially. I'm with you. Could be one and done.
It's not tone deaf. It's you're living in an alternate reality, dude.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not going to play. You could be in your bubble, but when you're in an alternate reality, you can't win that war. And that's where he is right now.
Say what you will about Saleh. Saleh knew how to work the media well enough last,
I know he's sitting there going, see, that's what he's doing right now. He's going you thought I was bad. Look at this thing. Actually, this is looking better and better for him at every turn. This is looking better and better for him.
100%.
Let's see. Tua blasts his teammates after the Dolphins lose, saying they show up late to meetings and there's leadership issues, to which every reply was, aren't you the starting quarterback? And by default, de facto, the leader of the team. So you're complaining about leadership, but you're not being the leader and you're calling it out in public? You guys are finished. Totally finished.
It's the old saying. The call is coming from inside the house, Tua. You are the leadership. This is on you. Although I will say this, people were saying, oh, who's that? Whatever. Some of this does go to McDaniel because we've been talking about it. He is a, kind of a chill modern coach. it's getting away from him. I'm not surprised here. We kind of knew they were done in the first month of the season, and I'm not surprised here. I think I said it to you on Friday. Wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers were actually going to go in there win, and they'd absolutely did.
That one was totally like, let's just see what happens. And it took a miracle play practically for them to win anyway. So both those teams are right now going nowhere. I do buy the Chargers, if they can get healthy, would turn it around. But they're just so beat up. It's hard for them to get there. My boy D Gabs couldn't get it going in Pittsburgh. I think we're all rooting for this because everybody wants to see Shedeur play. So it's a matter of time. And I said this from the get-go. All three of the quarterbacks are going to play. Don't worry. It's going to happen. Gabriel's not going to win enough for them not to give Shedeur a shot. So it's just a matter of time. I'm sure they won't pull him yet, but give it a few more weeks. And if they don't win some games or he doesn't look really good, Shedeur will play. So everybody calm down. You'll get what you want.
Don't nickname a Browns quarterback. It just took me a minute to understand who you were nicknaming. I was like, who the hell is D Gabs?
I'm into nicknaming everybody these days. I nickname everybody.
That's a bad one because I didn't know who that was. This one. Yeah, that's a bad one. I didn't even know who that was. That's what I was thinking, nickname a Browns quarterback. This one was simple. Pittsburgh professional team at home. They weren't going to lose this. That's pretty much how I looked at this one. It was low scoring, so I'm not surprised on that front.
Yeah. Let's see. Drake May was good again. Pats get by the Saints. They're now 4-2. I was wondering about them. Like, they had their first big win at Buffalo, emotional win. You always got to see what's the bounce back. And I don't care who you're playing. When it's on the road, it's hard. And it wasn't easy. The game was close the whole time. But Drake May, very good. Listen, I saw this in person. I know it was a short sample, but we went to that joint practice. I got to watch him. I went, this guy is remarkably improved from where he was a year ago. Their division has played out that it is truly a two-team race, and they're making it a two-team race because they're hanging in there. They catch a really good outcome tonight. They're in first place.
They're also one of these teams, too. Like, he had 3 touchdown passes yesterday. They have 2 really good running backs as well. So all of a sudden, if he gets the passing game going and they can start running the ball a little bit more, too, I really like them for the rest of the season here. I think it's always worth reminding people of Drake May. When it came to Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, everyone said Drake was going to need a little bit of seasoning. Yeah. He's getting it right now. I really like the way he played yesterday.
Yeah. He's turning the corner here. Ravens sinks against the Rams. Cooper Rush was benched. I think Lamar's coming back sooner rather than later, which gives them a mild amount of hope that they can flip their season around. And I don't put it past them to do that and at least get back. Them winning the division would take Pittsburgh totally sinking. But again, like, not unlike the AFC East, it's really a two-team race. The Bengals and Browns are done. So, like, they just kind of, if they could go beat Pittsburgh twice, all of a sudden that would kind of tighten the gap. But their margin for error is very slim now because of their record.
Their ray of hope is that the defense didn't completely fall apart against the Rams yesterday. Like, they looked okay against the Rams. Either way, that's what's going to either make or break this season. When Lamar comes back, I have faith the offense is going to score, 25, 28, 30 points a game. But that defense is what I'm worried about here. They need to clean that up more than the offense.
Arizona offense was better under Jacoby Brissett, but they lost to the Colts anyway. It's going to be an interesting move organizationally. Are they going to slow roll Kyler coming back because they want him to stay healthy to try to move him next year? I think that's going to be a storyline to watch. Doesn't mean that the Arizona is going to be any better or that this season is going to turn around at all. I don't think it will. Like, they at best are going to have 7-8 wins. That's it. So they're not going to make the playoffs. But I think they have to start thinking ahead. How much more of Kyler are we going to take? And is this an excuse to kind of put him on the bench for a while? Maybe.
Look, we had Brissett here, and he was a professional quarterback. He could run the offense. So I don't know what the ceiling is for him. I think that's the question here, really. You know how I feel about Kyler. I think we both have called it on Kyler a couple of years ago that I'm good. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he could be a good quarterback, but I wouldn't be handing him that contract. So
I actually listen, I'll be open-minded too if he goes to a different place with a fresh start and a fresh perspective and gets the right coach, because he is talented, that it could flip around a little bit for a couple of years, but I need to see it to believe it. And I certainly wouldn't want to pay $50 million a year to find out. That's all.
I point to that Seahawks Thursday night game where I told you the radio broadcast and the TV broadcast were talking about his leadership. That's never good when both broadcast teams are hearing about that type of stuff. He needs a reset bad.
Titans are back to being ass. I don't really think I have anything else to say about it. That's it. They are bad, and I think Cam Ward's going to have a new coach next year. Probably is going to happen. These are two teams I don't really totally buy. You hate the Jaguars, don't buy them. I'm on a wait and see on Seattle. I think they've been pushed ahead a little bit more. And, with the Cardinals sinking, there's more of a road now to potentially get to second place. And with all the injuries the Niners are getting, that may collapse them at some point. And so there might be a second place finish for them. But I will give them I'll give anybody their due. That's a big win. West Coast team, that's as far as they could possibly go across the country. Play an early start and hold them to 12 points off an emotional win by Jacksonville. That's a really good win by Seattle. I'll give it to them.
I kind of called this off of the emotional letdown that the Jags were going to have. Also, it was a short week. Seattle's professional. I'm not buying too much into this one. I'll just say Seattle had a more solid game plan here. And look, it's also paying off that Darnold actually has been pretty good with Seattle too. So give them credit. They made a quarterback change and it actually has worked out pretty well for them. I'm not surprised at this result.
I wish the Bengals were in better shape to put a ding on the pack, but to have a quarterback there for 2 days and play, not surprised. They were actually competitive and in it, but this is a non-surprising outcome that they lost on the road with a quarterback who'd been there for 2 days, whatever. As for the Niners, look, you can't lose everybody, and they're literally losing everybody. Now Fred Warner's out for the year. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Kittle's not playing. Who knows when Ayuk's coming back? Their second quarterback, who's had a career resurgence but is hobbling around the field. This is going to go the wrong way. When they play good teams, like they played the Buccaneers, you have to have your people. If you don't have your people, you lose. I give them a ton of credit for remaining incredibly competitive in all of these games that have the record that they have, but it will collapse on them if they don't start getting people back.
It's very rare that I think a coach like Kyle Shanahan saves his job in a losing season. But if you're Niners ownership, you look at a season that's happening right now and you go, this is why this is our coach for a long time. Because here they are with all of these backups. Here they are in these games where they got to go across the country and they continually are staying competitive. They're too banged up. But Kyle Shanahan once again proves why he's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
The last one is Rico Dowdle talked crap all week and then backed it up with 200 yards against his ex-team. If you've watched the Cowboys the last few weeks and you think they're going to stop our offense, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because we got to play tonight. We got to see what happens tonight. But they're going to have to score a lot to beat us is the way it looks to me right now. Their defense is a mess. Just a complete, utter, abject mess right now.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that Pickens pickup working really well for them, even without CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
But I will say that defense is terrible. It is awful. If the Panthers are doing that against you, I don't know what to say, man. And I'm with you. I was thinking, all right, next week. Really can't wait to see that. Cowboys season continues to go sideways. I'm not really surprised at that happening as well.
Yep. All right, let me take a quick break. Brad wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, like 24/7 roadside assistance, plus 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive MVP events, and unforgettable experiences. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP upgrade for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to join the squad and put your fandom in drive. All right, welcome back. Couple quick things before we revisit the football tonight. One, the Caps had a very good weekend. They got 2 wins in New York to beat the Islanders and the Rangers, and they shut out the Rangers yesterday. So great weekend for Washington off the bounce back from the season opening loss.
Great weekend. Alexi Protas looks even better than he did last year. Scored 2 goals on Saturday. Should have had a goal last night, honestly. Ryan Leonard gets his first goal against a goalie. If you remember, he only scored 1 goal last year. It was on an empty netter. He gets through. Ovechkin had a couple of sick assists this weekend. He hasn't scored a goal yet, but really good assist. I'm going to go with this. Both goalies great this weekend in New York. Lindgren yesterday on a back-to-back gets that 1-0. Logan Thompson was really good in New York. So really good weekend for the Caps. They cashed in on the power play. Let's see what they do against Tampa coming up tomorrow.
James Franklin is out at Penn State after they lost their 3rd straight. This one at home to Northwestern, who stinks, after they lost to UCLA, who really stinks. I'm not surprised this happened, although paying somebody $50 million to go away is typically an abnormal thing to do. And I'll just say this. No, I do not think he's replacing Mike Loxley at Maryland. 2, I don't know. I think he's going to have offers to go places.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd want to stay in the Big Ten, honestly, if I were him. I think I'd probably want to get somewhere else, but we'll see. We'll see what he does. But no, I don't think Maryland is the spot for him.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on this. This one was also spiraling in a bad way. And you know how these giant fan bases act. I'm not surprised this happened. I guess I'm slightly surprised it did happen mid-season, but I guess if you're already tapping out, you want to be first to grab another coach elsewhere. So here we are.
The other Monday night game tonight is Bills and Falcons. Indoor Josh Allen, I think, cooks tonight. If he was in a different division, I actually feel like under the same scenarios where he was playing indoor decent amount, I think his numbers would be even exponentially higher than they already typically are. Last year when he played in Detroit, he put up like 8 million yards of offense. I got a funny feeling. I know even though the Falcons are off a bye and everything, but the Bills are off a loss, that I think you're going to see the best of him tonight. And watch out. Bills by 10. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. This one's not going to be close, or if it is, it's going to be some garbage time stuff here. I'm with you. I think the Falcons, they, kind of did all right with bouncing back against the Commanders. I still don't believe in Raheem Morris. Give me Buffalo tonight. I don't know by how much, though.
All right, and last thing again on Monday Night Football, Bears and Commanders. Here's the other, I think, open question tonight. Is something going to unhinge that team? Because I'm actually pretty convinced that our guys are pretty locked up. And, win or loss, we handle ourselves. And we haven't had like a Lions moment last night where they lost a big game and then people go berserker. Like we haven't had one of those. The Bears, this is the nightmare game for them. This is what unhinged them a year ago. This is what completely dislodged them. And this year, I will, reiterate what I said early. I think they're probably in a better mental state, but they haven't found themselves yet. They really are a work in progress. Their defense up front is getting gashed. Their offense hasn't really found any consistency yet. So it's an NFL game. When something bad happens to them, will it unhinge them? And I'll be kind of watching for that tonight.
I'm with you on this one. I also think, to piggyback off of if a big moment happens, I think this crowd tonight's going to be unhinged as well. They're going to be waiting for a big moment. You know how I roll. I'm rolling with like 10 people to this game because that's where my season tickets are. But I know a lot of people going to this game. The team has made this a really big deal that this is a primetime type event. They want you there early. They're doing the wear black thing. Like, I think the team has done a really good job, and I think the people that are going to be there tonight are also going to be waiting for one of those moments. And does that help the avalanche kind of fall onto the Bears if, Mikey Samerstill gets a pick off of Caleb running around or something like that? I think a moment needs to happen for the crowd to uncork, and I think that you're absolutely right. It could snowball on the Bears, especially if they're showing the Hail Mary and the demons start creeping back. What's the Darnold? Seeing ghosts. I think you could see a little bit of that with the Bears if the Commanders kind of survive that first drive that the Bears have.
If I have a voice tomorrow morning, I'll be happy to recap it with you. So we'll just see how it goes. If they give me another heart attack, I can't promise you anything. If they do what I think they're going to do, which is run the ball down their throat and get a traditional win against them, I'll be very happy to speak with you in my normal tones tomorrow. All right, everybody, enjoy the game. I can't wait. This is a really, really big one. I've been circling this one for months. I can't wait. All right, talk to you all tomorrow. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.